Hey there, Angela Mosley here with Modern Fit Moms, pre and postnatal corrective exercise trainer. In today's video, we are going to do a full follow along release work for the pelvic floor. Today, we are addressing the pelvic floor externally with a couple of equipment items. So I do have my yoga block, I have a foam roller, I have a tune-up ball to release externally, I have a pillow for support, and then I have a heavy dumbbell to hold on to for a deep squat hold. You could also hold on to a banister or a heavy table. And I also need a wall. The very first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna do some external release work. We're gonna take your ball and we're gonna place it just inside of the sits bones. We're not gonna go on the opening. We're gonna roll front to back and then side to side, however it feels good for you. So you're gonna find some sticky spots on your body and then you're gonna sit there and roll around. So we're gonna do this together. Then we're gonna go through some breathing and then we're gonna go through some activation of opposing muscles to help allow the pelvic floor to let go. So the exercises I chose for today's workout are going to help open and release the posterior chain, help create more space and opening and lengthening. Grab your equipment and join me back here on the mat. Okay, like I said, we're gonna place the ball right underneath inside of the sits bones and we're gonna sit on it and then we're gonna roll. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna try and find a spot that might feel a little sticky, if you will, and you might want to hold it there and breathe, or you can continue to roll around to try and get those knots out, just like you would get knots out in your shoulders. Now, like I said, if this is excessive or it's extremely painful, you definitely want to back off. This would be very beneficial to go to see an internal pelvic floor PT who can do some internal release. Now, one thing we really do want to focus on is our breathing, because when we focus on our breath, this helps to allow the body to relax and kind of melt over the ball, if you will. And what we don't want is we don't want to go onto a spot that feels extremely tender, because then your body can clench up even more to protect itself. So we don't want to do that. We want to be very mindful. Go ahead and switch right into that other side. So you can do this. We're keeping it short and sweet for today's video because I want to make sure that it's attainable for us busy moms, but you can do this longer if it feels good for you. So 60 seconds each side is about what I aim for right before my workouts. And then I go into my breathing, just like we're going to go into our breathing in today's video. Now you can also use a foam roller for this as well, instead of doing the ball, especially if you feel like the ball is just too much or it's really uncomfortable. No problem. You can also address it with the foam roller. Fantastic job. Go ahead and place that ball off to the side. Now we're going to come into our deep squat hold. So I'm going to show you option number one. You're going to sit on the foam roller. This is great for someone who has prolapse and you feel really vulnerable in a deep squat. You're going to hug those knees in close to the body so that when we inhale through our nose, we want to think about the breath going into our ribs laterally, into the back, and then down into our pelvic bowl. We're here for about a minute, so go ahead and start breathing. I want you to think about that expansion. So inhaling through the nose, thinking about suctioning the tongue to the roof of your mouth, allowing the breath to expand all the way into your back and then down into your pelvic floor. And then I want you to fully let that exhale come all the way out while relaxing your pelvic floor. Okay? Because the longer the exhale or more breath we get out, the more we can get our good inhale. Now, if you want to have something sturdy to hold on to or something weighted and you feel okay in this position, this is a very great option for this. This is the option that I choose. So I do feel like I can get more into my pelvic floor in this position. Like I said, the foam roller is great for those of you that have prolapse and you feel really vulnerable, which I've been there. I know what it's like. So again, we just want to think about suctioning the tongue to the roof of our mouth, inhaling through our nose, expanding our breath into our ribs, down into our back, and then down into the pelvic bowl. Fantastic job. Go ahead and set that off to the side. We're going to come to the wall with our foam roller, our yoga block. We're going to place the yoga block in between our feet on the wall. We're going to place the foam roller in between our knees, and then we're going to use our pillow for support. I'm going to hover my ribs up off the ground. I'm going to bring my knees into about a 90-degree angle. I'm going to make sure that I don't spill into an anterior pelvic tilt. I'm going to bring this top knee, I'm going to squeeze down on the foam roller. I'm going to drive forward, and then I'm going to suction it back like somebody's pulling it back. This bottom leg stays nice and still. So I'm driving it forward. So what we're doing now is we're creating more opening in the pelvis and in the pelvic floor, allowing that femur to move back in the socket, working on those beautiful hip muscles, because a lot of the times our hips are not working, and so our pelvic floor is taking a hit. So that's why we may have tension within the pelvic floor. So again, we're driving forward and then we're just sucking it back without hiking the hip or spilling into an anterior pelvic tilt. Fantastic job. Go ahead and switch into your other side. So we're going to do the same thing, but on that other side. So get yourself up. My foam roller's rolling away. Go ahead and join me now. So same exact thing. You want to think about pressing your feet into the wall for support. You're going to drive back, so suction back, and then drive forward. So the gentle release or the gentle press on the foam roller to get those adductors on board. So again, we want to avoid hiking the hip. We want to feel an opening as the pelvis moves. Drive forward and drive back. Keeping those ribs stacked over those hips. Moving very slowly. Last one. And bring it back to center. Fantastic job. All right, you can get rid of that foam roller. We're gonna come into our side. We're gonna place the yoga block in between the knees, and we're gonna come into a reverse clamshell. So what I want you to think about is I want you to think about first pressing this knee into the yoga block to get those adductors on board. Then we're going to get our glutes to turn on, and we're going to drive up. Okay, so this is going to reinforce that opening in the back again. So instead of doing clamshells, because clamshells promote external rotation, which clenches the back even more, we want to promote internal rotation, which is again going to help open up the back. And again, we're working on those adductors, so press down into the yoga block, press down, and then get that glute on board, and then lift up. One way you can make this more intense, you can add a band on the toes, or you can even add ankle weights here, okay? So my focus is getting those adductors on board and getting that glute. Last one, and switch. Fantastic job. So we're just gonna switch right into that side, and then you can also play around with the angle of your legs, right? Because what we want is we want adductors and we want glute med. So as we drive up, you want to think about this pelvis opening in the back. Okay, so you should not feel tension in the back while you do that opening. Now you might feel a difference between side to side, which could tell you a lot. Like I know that my right side tends to be a little bit stickier than my left, okay? So I feel even more opening on this left side because I have more length back there compared to my right. So it's definitely something that I'm constantly working on. So again, pressing into the yoga block and getting those glutes on board and then lifting up. So we're promoting internal rotation, which is so good for that pelvic floor. It is super gentle. I like to inhale down and then exhale to press up. Fantastic job. So what you can do now is you can go back through and repeat everything. Like I said, it's an 8-minute workout, but we are going to finish off with a child's pose breathing. You can either put the pillow underneath your abdomen or you can put it underneath. Find a position that works best for you. One other thing is you can pop those toes up so you can sit back, especially if you are pregnant. And you can also use the yoga block for support. So play around with the positioning of your child's pose. Same thing with that deep squat hold. I want you to think about inhaling through the nose and allowing the breath to expand in all the places. You can do palms up so you can get more into the mid-back, or you can have palms down. You decide what feels good for you and where you want the breath to go. This should be feeling relaxing, so you want to make sure that whatever pose you're doing, so if that means you're sitting all the way down, that's perfectly fine too. You can think about reaching those arms to get more lateral expansion here. And again, same thing, you want to think about inhaling through the nose, suction the tongue to the roof of your mouth, and then exhaling, letting all of that breath come all the way out. Let's do one more good breath together. And exhale all the way out. Fantastic job. Like I said, you can repeat this one more time if you would like. You can add this as part of your warm-up before your workouts, or you can do it at the end of the day to really help your pelvic floor slow down and relax. I hope you've enjoyed that. Let me know what else you would like to see in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.